Las Meninas is a 1656 painting in the Museo del Prado in Madrid, by Diego Velázquez, the leading artist of the Spanish Golden Age. Its complex and enigmatic composition raises questions about reality and illusion, and creates an uncertain relationship between the viewer and the figures depicted. Because of these complexities, Las Meninas has been one of the most widely analyzed works in Western painting. The painting shows a large room in the Royal Alcazar of Madrid during the reign of King Philip IV of Spain, and presents several figures, most identifiable from the Spanish court, captured, according to some commentators, in a particular moment as if in a snapshot. Some look out of the canvas towards the viewer, while others interact among themselves. The young Infanta Margaret Teresa is surrounded by her entourage of maids of honor, chaperone, bodyguard, two dwarfs and a dog. Just behind them, Velázquez portrays himself working at a large canvas. Velázquez looks outwards, beyond the pictorial space to where a viewer of the painting would stand. In the background there is a mirror that reflects the upper bodies of the king and queen. They appear to be placed outside the picture space in a position similar to that of the viewer, although some scholars have speculated that their image is a reflection from the painting Velázquez is shown working on. Las Meninas has long been recognized as one of the most important paintings in Western art history. The Baroque painter Luca Giordano said that it represents the theology of painting, and in 1827 the president of the Royal Academy of Arts, Sir Thomas Lawrence, described the work in a letter to his successor David Wilkie as the true philosophy of the art. More recently, it has been described as Velázquez's supreme achievement, a highly self-conscious, calculated demonstration of what painting could achieve, and perhaps the most searching comment ever made on the possibilities of the easel painting. Background: court of Philip IV in 17th-century Spain, painters rarely enjoyed high social status. Painting was regarded as a craft, not an art such as poetry or music. Nonetheless, Velázquez worked his way up through the ranks of the court of Philip IV, and in February 1651 was appointed palace chamberlain. The post brought him status and material reward, but its duties made heavy demands on his time. During the remaining 8 years of his life, he painted only a few works, mostly portraits of the royal family. When he painted Las Meninas, he had been with the royal household for 33 years. Philip IV's first wife, Elizabeth of France, died in 1644, and their only son, Balthazar Charles, died 2 years later. Lacking an heir, Philip married Mariana of Austria in 1649, and Margaret Teresa was the first child, and their only one at the time of the painting. Subsequently, she had a short-lived brother Philip Prospero, and then Charles arrived, who succeeded to the throne as Charles II at the age of 3. Velázquez painted portraits of Mariana and her children, and although Philip himself resisted being portrayed in his old age, he did allow Velázquez to include him in Las Meninas. In the early 1650s he gave Velázquez the Piazza principal of the late Balthazar Charles's living quarters, by then serving as the Palace Museum, to use as his studio. It is here that Las Meninas is set. Philip had his own chair in the studio and would often sit and watch Velázquez at work. Although constrained by rigid etiquette, the art-loving king seems to have had an unusually close relationship with the painter. After Velázquez's death, Philip wrote, "I am crushed," in the margin of a memorandum on the choice of his successor. During the 1640s and 1650s, Velázquez served as both court painter and curator of Philip IV's expanding collection of European art. He seems to have been given an unusual unusual degree of freedom in the role. He supervised the decoration and interior design of the rooms holding the most valued paintings, adding mirrors, statues and tapestries. He was also responsible for the sourcing, attribution, hanging and inventory of many of the Spanish king's paintings. By the early 1650s, Velázquez was widely respected in Spain as a connoisseur. Much of the collection of the Prado today, including works by Titian, Raphael, and Rubens, were acquired and assembled under Velázquez's curatorship. Provenance and condition. The painting was referred to in the earliest inventories as La Familia. A detailed description of Las Meninas, which provides the identification of several of the figures, was published by Antonio Palomino in 1724. Examination under infrared light reveals minor pentimenti, that is, there are traces of earlier working that the artist himself later altered. For example, at first Velázquez's own head inclined to his right rather than his left. The painting has been cut down on both the left and right sides. It was damaged in the fire that destroyed the Alcazar in 1734, and was restored by court painter Juan García de Miranda. The left cheek of the Infanta was almost completely repainted to compensate for a substantial loss of pigment. After its rescue from the fire, the painting was inventoried as part of the royal collection in 1747–48, and the Infanta was misidentified as Maria Teresa, Margaret Teresa's older half-sister, an error that was repeated when the painting was inventoried at the new Madrid Royal Palace in 1772. A 1794 inventory reverted to a version of the earlier title, The Family of Philip IV, which was repeated in the records of 1814. The painting entered the collection of the Museo del Prado in its foundation in 1819. In 1843, the Prado catalogue listed the work for the first time as Las Meninas. In recent years, the picture has suffered a loss of texture and hue, due to exposure to pollution and crowds of visitors. The once vivid contrasts between blue and white pigments in the costumes of the Meninas have faded. It was last cleaned in 1984 under the supervision of the American conservator John Brealey, to remove a yellow veil of dust that had gathered since the previous restoration in the 19th century. The cleaning provoked, according to the art historian Federico Zeri, furious protests, not because the picture had been damaged in any way, but because it looked different. However, in the opinion of Lopez Rey, the restoration was impeccable. Due to its size, importance, and value, the painting is not lent out for exhibition. Painting materials. A thorough technical investigation including a pigment analysis of Las Meninas was conducted around 1981 in Museo Prado. The analysis revealed the usual pigments of the Baroque period frequently used by Velázquez in his other paintings. The main pigments used for this painting were lead white, azurite, vermilion and red lake ochres and carbon blacks.